I feel like the system is more maddening sometimes than the actual disease itself. And I think things need to change drastically. I understand that the people that have psychosis or schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever, need to be able to make decisions on their own. But there are points in their lives when they're in full-blown psychosis where they cannot make those decisions. I know that's when they get, potentially you go into hospitals and, they get some of that, I guess, decision making, does get taken away when they're in a hospital. But sometimes those hospital stays too, it's like, okay, it's a week. Medication does not kick in a week. So they come out barely functioning still not out of psychosis. Maybe they can say the right things to get them out the door.
Yes.
But it's just this, and it feels like a racket. I mean, we're still paying off, from a 2-week stay that we did last summer, and then she ended up like a week later back into another facility. I mean, it's just that the insanity of what you dealing with, it's almost more maddening, honestly, than the disease itself. So, and I think from a regulation standpoint, like the HIPAA, we take our children to a hospital because we know they need to get there. Then they end up in one of these hospitals and they won't even verify that they're there. So, it's insane.
That happened.
That's insane.
Right. That happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm always promising to be going out of town. But anyway, I went out of town. They picked him up. He couldn't even speak. He was comatose.
Yeah.
Kind of tiny. And so when I found out that he was gone, I'm running down to UMC. They would not tell me he was there. Oh, you got to wait for him to give you his number. I'm like, y'all know when y'all picked him up, he couldn't even speak. And now y'all expect for me to know where he is? Oh, I was so angry. But my sister works at a hospital. So she went there with me. And by the time she talked to that person, the man gave him a few hints where he was. That's one way I found him. And I say, but it is so horrible, that your child is sick. And she works at the hospital. She answers the phone, and sometimes I talk to her, and people are calling for their loved ones. They know they're there. You cannot say they're there. It's just so frustrating because sometimes you don't know where your child is, I'm going to tell this. After Ida, I went to Houston and he wouldn't come home. And he was psychotic. I knew he was psychotic, when we went there. And Doug talked to him. I talked to him. I got my pastor friend to talk to him. Everybody. And he wouldn't come home. And because he was psychotic, he got picked up. And he was in the Houston jail for 6 months,
My son went there.
And they are horrible in the Houston jail. Harris County prison system is it's so horrible. All they do is collect money on them because they get paid because it's for a profit jail. And, they won't hardly do anything for them. Sometimes they charge them for the medication even though they know they need it. And one Sunday, I called. I had prayed before I called. And I got to somebody and I told them that my child was psychotic and suicidal and they had to do something because he was in general population. They had beat him. They had cut his hair. They had did so many things. And I got on my phone and I cried and I prayed and I cried and talked to that man. He said, ma'am, I'm going to get the psychiatrist to come get him right now. And so he was able to get in the psychiatric ward, but it was so hard. And, y'all was trying to call, Doug was trying to call, they would never answer the phone. Oh, it was horrible. But finally, he got some help. And then he was starting to get better. And he wasn't going to be released. And they was going to put him back in general population. And he called me, he was so frightened. I got on that phone again, and I said, he only has a few more days. I don't care what y'all have to do and what y'all have to say to leave him in the psychiatric hospital. Department till he gets out because my child knows nothing about the prison life. I say, yes, we're African American. Every African American don't know anything about prison. Nobody in my family has ever been to jail. I had no clue how to even get him out or anything, So I talked to that lady. She heard me and she helped me. She let him stay there until he got released. So you have to pray, you have to cry, you have to talk, you have to do anything you can to help your child.